Hello from the beautiful Nepal. I have just completed my 200 hours yoga teacher training and I want to share my experience with you. My name is Anastasia. I'm a Western astrologer. You're used to me posting astrology content. This is slightly different. You may know that I have posted another video of myself doing yoga before I went to Nepal. So the entirety of October, I have been in Nepal training, learning yoga with Himalayan Yoga Academy. And like I said, I'd like to share my experience, tell you how it went, be honest with you, and hopefully inspire you also to do yoga and to lead a healthy lifestyle. So first things first, why yoga, right? Like, why would I go here? Why would I do yoga in the first place? I've always been a big fan. I've always found yoga to be both good for my body and my mind. If you are a practitioner, you might know that it helps calm you down, it helps bring you into your body, it helps center you. In 2024, to bring astrology into the mix, Saturn has been in my 6th house, and 6th house is all about health and work and service, and Saturn is the teacher of hard lessons. So Saturn has been beating me up, creating a lot of work, creating a lot of stress. I've been noticing a lot more health problems like back pain, neck pain, just overall sense of exhaustion and overwhelm. And so I figured that what a best way to take care of myself than to learn yoga. And I also of course knew that, I'm a Libra rising. I knew that Jupiter will be in my 9th house of travel. Looking back at the last time Jupiter was in Gemini in 2012, it was my first time going on a trip away from the Russia, New York travel itinerary that I've always had. I actually went to London and had a good time. So I knew that there's going to be this opportunity to travel and to learn new things. And with Saturn being in my house of health, it just all seemed super aligned, right? And let's not forget that Libra risings, people with strong Libra placements, have also had South Node in their 1st house. So, or South Node affecting their Libra placement. So there's been a lot of this death and rebirth energy. So basically in February, I don't know why I guess they're little kids throwing fireworks or something, so forgive the loud sounds. It's usually pretty quiet except for the roosters early in the morning. In February, I started looking into schools. I was looking at India, I was looking at just sort of qualified Yoga Alliance schools. And I found Himalayan Yoga Academy. It was highly recommended, it was highly listed. I reached out to a few people who have studied here and have just graduated, and I asked them for advice, and I started the process. And I set it up to happen in October because I knew that that will be right around the eclipse. I knew that Mars will be weaker. I won't be able to create any candles. As you know, I try to maximize astrology as much as possible, so I sort of planned it for October and slowly started getting ready. Honestly, I wish I have done more yoga leading up to it because I feel like my body could have been more prepared. So come late September, I flew from JFK, transferring in Qatar. And 12 and a half hours later, I made it to Qatar. Didn't sleep well. Now I have a 2.5-hour layover. This was my first time in Qatar, in Doha airport, and I've heard a lot of things about it, and it was definitely quite impressive. Very beautiful airport. They have train running through the airport in case you're late for your flight. You can always go and catch that train and make it through. When I landed, the journey was crazy long. It's about 14 hours from New York to Qatar, and then it's another 6 hours from Qatar to Kathmandu. So I was exhausted. Luckily, the Himalayan Yoga Academy sent a driver to pick me up, so I was met with kind of this welcoming energy. My first impression of Kathmandu was, I guess I was just a little bit apprehensive of the driving because it is so busy here and there's so many motorcycles and people just drive. It's seems like there are no rules. They drive everywhere, they like just, cut each other, but at the same time there seems to be no accidents. Everything is just smooth and lovely. So first day, I planned to give myself a day before classes start. So I had a day to relax, and I sort of, took a walk and explored the neighborhood a little bit. The school is not in the center of Kathmandu, it's a little bit away. So you get quite more like peaceful energy. The first night though, I was woken up by roosters at 3 a.m. and they continued to like do their thing to craw. Do they craw? I think they craw. So they continued to do it, and that just became a sound you get used to here. And there are also lots of dogs. There are lots of dogs on the street, homeless dogs that people take care of. A lot of times they look very, very nice and well taken care of. And they spend most of the night barking. So that's been an adjustment. Can't say I'm gonna miss that. But you can definitely get used to a lot of things. On October 1st, my classes started. So it's my first official day doing yoga. I'm definitely excited, but also a little nervous. I woke up with like slight backache, but hey, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to fix all of these things, right? They welcomed us. They did a ceremony where we were introduced to the school, and we had tika put on our foreheads, which was quite lovely. And then the classes sort of picked up. On most days, I would wake up around 5:36, and then at 6:30 we had jala neti, which is a way to clean your nose, where you pour saline, salted warm water through one of your nostrils and have it come out through the other nostril, and that cleanses your nasal passageway. Then we would have tea, and our first class would start at 7 in the morning. Sometimes it was a flow where we would just follow along.
With inhalation, triangle, point your back toes towards front.
And sometimes later in the study, it became more yoga alignment, where we had a lot more knowledge about the proper alignment and versions of the postures and breathing, and we sort of had help with sequencing things as well.
From here, you just sit. Inhale, you drop. Okay. Again, you come back.
The class would go from 7 until about 9. Forgive the sounds. I guess wherever I go, there's either New York and sirens, or in Kathmandu, there are kids throwing fireworks. So at 9 we had breakfast. It was always vegetarian, delicious breakfast cooked by the beautiful Kopila, the mother of Suyog, who actually is in charge of the academy, and he organizes everything, deals with business matters and scheduling. So the food was vegetarian, completely vegetarian, and very delicious. I had no idea that you can create so many different variations of vegetarian food. So like I said, the day would begin with the class at 7, then we would have breakfast at 9, and the next class would often start around 10 or 11, and we would have theory, because you're not supposed to do yoga right after food, so it would be yoga philosophy or anatomy classes. Then we would have another yoga class that was a little bit shorter, about an hour and 15 minutes, and that was Ashtanga. And Ashtanga is a lot more packed, physical, active, energetic, and sort of very tiring. After that, we'd have lunch at 1, take a short break, and around 4, we'd have our third yoga class of the day. And then the meditation at 6, and then dinner at 7. And by the end of that, you would be so tired that you would just go to bed right away. There was no desire for more. I didn't feel like socializing much. I just wanted to go get in bed and get some sleep. The first week, everything hurt. My knees hurt, my back hurt. We were sitting on the ground. I went from sitting in a chair with my laptop, working, talking to clients, filming YouTube videos while sitting like this, to sitting on the ground all day. So everything hurt. Luckily, the teachers were so supportive and welcoming, and they immediately told us that it's okay for things to hurt, that it's normal, that your body is going through a detoxifying process, and it's cleansing actually, and you're purifying yourself. So that was very helpful. But then week 2, I got sick. I got a cold. And being a true Virgo, I didn't want to miss anything because I didn't want to. It's only 20 to 21 days, right? So you don't want to miss anything because you miss something, you miss like an important thing. So I would go to classes with a fever. So second week was that. Third week we started doing more complicated postures. We started doing headstand, and that is something I'm still working on. I'm getting better, but I'm definitely still working on. So every week, every day presented certain challenges. The Academy also organized a day out for us, a day trip where we went to Pharping and visited a couple of Hindu temples, discovered more about Hindu religion and the multitude of gods and the stories behind them, and felt the beautiful spiritual energy. We also went to a Buddhist monastery and observed a ritual. They were honoring their leader, and it was a very long kind of puja type ritual. And then we also walked across a hanging bridge, a gigantic bridge. And it was a little bit scary to cross it, but I think it was also quite exciting because the scenery around was so picturesque and so beautiful. I would do it every day. We had lunch afterwards, and then we wrapped up the day with climbing a bunch of steps to a beautiful site to sort of the top of the hill, and there were really lovely, spectacular views from that. I was in Nepal at the time of the Shine, which is the biggest festival, and we got to actually participate and observe people do different rituals. Like there was one ritual where they were honoring their vehicles, and I tried to ask them questions. I was like, what if your vehicle is horse? Do you paint symbols on a horse too? And I didn't get a clear answer. I was told that there is a separate day when you honor your pets or horses. So one thing to know is that they're very astrologically minded, but you can also, I guess, say astronomically minded, because everything is connected to the moon. The Shine Festival started right after the solar eclipse in Libra, and it ended on the new moon, on the full moon in Aries. So, and everybody here pretty much loves astrology. So when I would tell people I'm an astrologer, everyone would be like, okay, can you tell me my future? Can you look at my chart? There was like a lot of excitement around that. The days moved very fast. On October 20th, I was teaching my first yoga lesson. I was absolutely nervous, but I practiced a lot and put a lot of work in. I scripted down my sequence, I practiced it a few times, and as I kept going, I tried to focus on my breathing. It's also lovely that every yoga class starts with a bit of meditation. You keep your eyes closed, you breathe deeply, you chant Om. And that is, I think, very like centering and relaxing. And so as the class progressed, I relaxed a little bit, and I definitely felt quite empowered by telling people what to do and having them follow along. I'm kidding, but only a little bit. It is really fun to tell people to be like downward facing dog and see them do downward facing dog. But of course, all of it is done with positive thinking in mind, right? The class went well. I got a lot of positive feedback. People said it's sort of like a textbook yoga class, which I think is a great way to start, because I really want to make sure I'm like, you know, giving enough counter postures and variations. I got a couple of constructive criticism comments too, which was good and totally on point. The day after we had our graduation, it started by getting us dressed. Kopila wrapped all of us up in these beautiful saris, and we got to prance around in them, and then we got to sit together, do the final meditation. And then get our diplomas. There was lots of picture taking, lots of selfies, lots of hugging. We had 2 final exams, and then things sort of slowed down. I had another week at the academy because initially I was planning to do an additional yoga, prenatal yoga training, but sadly that did not work out because the teacher that normally teaches it was unavailable and they couldn't find a replacement. So I did have an extra week, which allowed me to join a woman that was here for a retreat on a sightseeing tour. And that's where I first saw a bunch of monkeys that are quite common in Nepal. Monkeys in Nepal are like squirrels in New York. If you've been to New York, you know what I'm talking about. So we went to the monkey temple, which is literally littered with monkeys, and learned more about Buddhism from our guru, Sudan.
Swayambhu. Swayam means self. Bhu means created.
And then we went to Pashupatina, which is a Hindu place where they honor the gods and they also cremate their dead. We learned a lot about the rituals behind cremation and how complicated that is. And there's so many rituals. If you are a Hindu, there's like 1 million rituals that begin before your birth and end after your death, with your child taking care of things and your parents obviously before you were born. And observing cremation was definitely an interesting thing to do. And then we wrapped up the day with dinner and the walk around Buddha Stupa, which is a beautiful Buddhist site and was full of people and was quite exciting to watch. I also got to go to a Buddhist temple for a couple of days. It was called Nagi Gumba, located in Shivapuri Nagarjun National Park. And we were welcomed by a beautiful, warm Buddhist nun. It was actually a nunnery with women only. Had delicious food. The food was still vegetarian, very simple, but tasty. And over there, we would go to puja at 5:30 in the morning and 4 p.m. 5:30 in the morning wake up wasn't easy, but it's so fun to watch. And they actually call people into puja by using conch shells and beating the drum. And the way they chant and their hand movements look so elegant. I had no idea what they were saying because everything is in Tibetan, but it definitely makes you feel like you're in a spiritual place and you can feel the energy. And it was so beautiful. Once again, so many monkeys. We were above the clouds. Sunsets were striking. We got to take a walk around the park a little bit. And we also had meditations with the nun where we would learn a little bit about Buddhism. So overall, a really beautiful experience. I will miss the people the most. If I had to summarize what was the most important thing I've learned, would be that yoga is not just about the flexibility of the body, that it's so much more about flexibility of the mind. And I consistently had to test the flexibility of my mind here, starting with the fact that my prenatal training didn't work out. There was some drama with some people here that I had to deal with and sort of navigate my feelings around it. It taught me to let go of a lot of things, and I kept on reminding myself that I'm here for me and my body and it's my journey. And so that is the most important thing. And so I think observing Nepali people be so flexible while being super chill and calm made me feel that it's super important to practice that flexibility of the mind. And so while I finished my yoga teacher training, my journey as a yogi is only beginning. And I hope to take you guys with me. Please ask me any questions. Let me know what kind of yoga videos you'd like to see. Thank you for watching. Please leave a happy comment, subscribe if you haven't yet. I'm asking you right now, and I'll talk to you very soon, probably in the astrology video. Thank you for being here.